Hi, Cancer. It's Erin Scott here. And I went into session today and am tapping into the evolutionary growth narrative for Cancer suns over the course of this January 16th, 2018 Capricorn new moon month-long cycle. So what is activated for Cancer sun? Your egoic growth narrative. So you can see here, and what I'm tapping into here obviously is letting pictures, symbols, forms, archetypes, images come through. And you can see these two upward motions in two different directions coming up through you over the course of this cycle. Two areas of growth are happening for you for this month ahead. And you can see this horizon line at the top. This bulbous black formation, the sphere at the bottom of these two emanations, for me, feel like a counterweight to the growth. It's almost like there's some weight, some heaviness from the past, old wounds, old patterns of being. And these smaller orbs, these black orbs that I'm drawing now, for me represent almost a collection of history that you're bringing with you into 2018. On either side of this counterweight, there's many different aspects that are bits of sadness, bits of weight. It could be relationships that have failed. It could be jobs that haven't worked out, or dreams that you've not seen manifested yet. But there's a level of sadness, depression, or weight from just life, the woundings from life. But up above, you see this horizon line that I drew and this sun. Now, this represents either a rising sun or a setting sun, and I actually think it's both. I think that some aspect of your life is setting, coming to a close, and another one is simultaneously beginning with a rising sun. So this is a transformational time for a lot of Cancer suns at this time. For all of us, but certainly here for the month ahead, this is activated. This line that came down next to the sun became a feather. And I think that that feather is talking about inherently there's some level of faith, trust, optimism in a bigger narrative, in the bigger unfolding for you. That is activated, and this is a good thing. So faith in the transition of setting sun, rising sun chapter. And you can see here that now after I drew the feather, this counterweight, this shadowed aspect of self is becoming larger. So it could be that over the course of the month ahead, there's an enlarging of worry, of memories, of past things that you perceive as failed. So just be mindful of that. It could enlarge for you, but it doesn't mean that you are not to grow from it. It's coming up because things need to be confronted. Here you can see this square formation. Now this very clearly, when I was drawing it, felt like a document, a piece of paper. And it started with one piece of paper with words on it, lines of words, languaging. It could be a lease. It could be some sort of a document, a legal document, or some sort of something that wants to be confirmed or made legal. But it quickly became a book. So this one page that represents some document that you're going to be dealing with over the course of the month ahead became a book with a spine and with multiple pages in it. And for me, what that could be talking about is, for some of you, there could be writing or communications that wants to come through you over this cycle. In the sun, up above, I drew a dot, and then these three prongs coming down underneath it. And now this bifurcation, this kind of, this bisection of the upper quadrant and the lower quadrant. The lower quadrant with the book, the lower quadrant with the mass of shadow, inner shadow. And for me, what this is saying is, with that dot in the sun, that I'm drawing now with those three prongs, there's some stain on the transition that you're going through now. You might be perceiving it as somehow wrong. And for me, what this is talking about is what that bisection line brought, which is a division within yourself, an inability perhaps to see, number one, the skills and the wisdom denoted by the book that you hold within you, and the shadow elements of the self, what you need to own and acknowledge with regards to your own wound and shadow. You're not seeing it. For some of you out there, you're not connecting the dots between your perception of what's happening in your life and what's ahead for the rising sun that wants to come into play, and the shadows that you hold, what's driving the perception shift, and the book narrative. And you can see that I drew those three large spheres of blackened area at the bottom that wanted to come through. And for me, what that's talking about is it might be that for some of you, not all of you, that there's greater amounts of fears that might be emerging, okay? It doesn't mean that they're not going to transmutate. They will. And these three spheres also for some of you could be large seeds of potential that you're able to access, you're able to recognize and understand. And you can see too that at the top of the image, from the sun that is setting and from the sun that is rising, there are emanations coming out through there. So there's a rising of the rays of the sun, a rising of the beams of the sun that's coming up and through you, up and through your life narrative. For those of you awake, aware, and participating, this is a time of transformation from past to the current state to what you want to grow in the future. But there's great realizations that are activated that are prompting you to connect the dots between what lies within you and what is your perception bubble of reality. So there might be some stains on your perception, some alterations of your perception where you're not seeing clearly and cleanly because there's some division within yourself about not seeing, owning the wounds from your past, and not seeing, owning the skills and the wisdom that you hold. So this month ahead is going to bring some area of maybe inner conflict that hopefully is going to break through to some new catalyzed clarity.